One small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
So I'm going to try to make this fast before I get burned alive, eaten by mosquitoes, or before my son walks through that door to remind me that it's past his lunchtime. So about 13 years ago, I met my husband. And during the dating process, I told him, I'm not having any more kids. I have this amazing daughter. I'm beginning my career in law enforcement. So if you want if you want a child of your own, you're going to have to go somewhere else. You're going to have to find somebody else. And there goes the car interrupting my video. But anyway, and he was fine with that. He was fine with my daughter. So we began our life together. We got married. We bought a house together, and he was just this wonderful father figure to my daughter. So after a couple years of marriage, I told him, let's have a child of our own. Let's try this, right? So we did, and let me tell you, and there goes another car. Let me tell you, it was a struggle. Seriously, it was exhausting because he had gotten cancer for the first time in 2010, so his counts, they were fucked up, and it was a 2-year process. So I was done. I went to the GYN and I told him, put me back on the pill because I can't do this anymore. And she wrote me a prescription. I put the prescription in my purse and I forgot about it. That was the decision that changed everything. And here comes my son. I can hear the door open. But that changed everything because within a month I was pregnant with him. That had to have been, that I know is the best decision that I ever made, because for those who don't know, we lost him in October. So what a gift, right? What a gift. He left me with this incredibly handsome young man that is the best decision that I made that day of forgetting those pills. I'm blessed, truly blessed to have him in my life, and thankful to my husband for giving him to me. And he didn't come through the door.
So I spent a solid decade of my life preparing to be an opera singer. I went to performing arts high school, college, graduate school, postgraduate school, and was doing it professionally. But opera had really broken my heart and broken my spirit. There are a lot of really awful people that are involved in the opera industry, and it left me really broken and depressed. I really hated music. I really hated it, and I hated myself too. December 13th, 2019 came around. I was on a train to a day job I had. I opened my Spotify app and played an album that was released that morning. And it was like a reclamation. It was a spiritual awakening. All my broken pieces somehow were stitched together again. And this music excited me. It made me feel invigorated and alive again. This album became a catalyst for me to launch into so many other creative endeavors. I have a new sense of style and self-confidence. I have a little platform of 25,000 people on here because of this album, and that album was Fine Line by Harry Styles. It literally changed my life.
This is hands down my favorite story of my entire life. And the best part is I didn't even get to make the decision myself. It was made for me. My freshman year, I moved back to the States after living in Japan where, and this is important, I was a professional ballerina for 3 years. So I decided to audition for the high school dance team, and I don't make it. Naturally, I'm devastated. And while I was sitting in the hallway staring at the list, my best friend left her rehearsal on a water break. She saw I was upset and told me I was going to come watch the rest of her rehearsal. So I did. Little did I know I was walking into her Winter Guard rehearsal, and I was hooked. That changed the entire trajectory of my life. I met my husband in this activity. I've met my best friends in this activity. And my son wouldn't be here without this activity. I've won 3 world-class championships in drum corps and Winter Guard, and I get to travel the country and choreograph. And I ended up going to college to study dance. I'm so happy I didn't make the dance team.
Okay, so February of this year was one of the hardest months of my entire life. It was awful. So I wanted a whole reset. I was having like a quarter life crisis, and I wanted to be in a different industry. I wasn't happy with where I was. And so I decided to reach out to this guy on LinkedIn, I met him 3 years ago at a random conference. And I just asked him about what should I do? What should I get an apprenticeship? Should I get a master's? Where should I go? And he legit messaged me back saying, well, I have jobs. And I was like, what? Literally interviewed the next day, got the job, and uprooted my entire life. I moved from Chicago to Miami, Florida, and now here I am trying out everything new, and it's crazy. I'm like a completely different person than I was just a few months ago. It's amazing. Message people on LinkedIn. You never know.
So I feel like my one small decision I made that changed my life forever was I had a coworker / my best friend text me asking if I would watch a 6-week-old baby that she was watching for another friend. And I said sure, not knowing anything, being a single 22-year-old. Went and got the pack and play from my grandma's, that was my niece's, brought it home. Fast forward to now, and she is 10 months old, and she is legally my daughter. I wouldn't trade her for anything, and I am so glad I said yes to babysitting.
So July 7, 2011, I worked at a daycare. There wasn't that many kids, so I decided that I'm going to go home. So I leave. I find out it's my friend's graduation party I didn't think I was going to be able to go to. So I drive out to Ocean City. I go to my friend's party. There's this guy there. He's freaking awesome, but I have a boyfriend, so I'm like, listen. He's like, no worries, but we get along really well. I go to leave. I lock my keys in my car. The next morning, after I finally got my keys out, we leave again. I realize I'm lost, so I Facebook stalk this guy. I'm like, listen, you're 5 cars ahead of me. I don't know where I'm at. He's like, no worries. So he helps me get to where I need to go. I go home. He goes home. He texts me. He's like, listen, I know you got a boyfriend, but you're freaking awesome. If anything ever happens, just like hit me up. Think of me. So I'm like, okay, bet. So I go to work. This lady's like, listen, if you leave your boyfriend, what are you out? Like a crappy boyfriend that treats you like crap and you're always depressed and he cheats on you. So I break up with my boyfriend. Long story short, I end up dating this guy. We get married. We have 3 kids and we've been together 10 years. It's fantastic.
$20 literally changed the course of my life. So during the pandemic, I had a really toxic job and essentially I had to quit. I was looking for a job for a really, really long time, and then these TikToks kept popping up about how you need to optimize your LinkedIn profile and so on. So I really didn't want to spend the $20 because I didn't have a job. I know it's not that much, but I didn't want to spend it. But I did spend it on a program that would help me learn how to optimize my LinkedIn profile. Then literally within the next week, a ton of job opportunities started coming my way. And also someone from an organization that helps place people into entry-level tech roles reached out to me. The organization was called Us in Tech, and they helped me land a new role where I work with executives every day. And through them, I was actually able to help about 6 of my other friends get jobs in the pandemic too. And because of that, I was able to move out of the South and move to New York City, and now I'm living my dream life.
So this past May, I was browsing TikTok as one does, and I stopped on a video about TV made by this particularly cute and clever TikToker. And I decided to stitch it. And then over the next couple of months, she posted more videos. I stitched those too. So I invited her to come visit me in Canada, where this time we made TikToks together. She invited me to a wedding, and then to visit her in LA. And now I'm inviting her to a wedding. But this time it's going to be our wedding.
So I do stand up. Yeah. And like 9 years ago, I did a show, a tiny little bar show with Joan Rivers head writer Tony Tripoli. And we had met before, but never really talked. And anyway, I got a little too drunk. And after the show, I was like, I'm going to ask for a job. I'm going to ask if I can write for Joan Rivers. So I went up to Tony and I was like, can I write for Joan Rivers? And he said, oh yeah, sure, email me. And then the next day I sobered up and I emailed him. And then he emailed me back and I auditioned and Joan liked me and I got the job. And then because of that job, I got my job on RuPaul's Drag Race. And then because of that job, I met all the queens and started writing jokes for them. So, moral of the story, drink too much and then demand jobs from strangers, I think. Thanks, Joan.